Hey guys, Josh here from Sportitude, running upstairs in our studio to go through the New Balance Vongo version 6 in comparison to version 5. An extremely exciting update. New Balance have put a lot of time and effort into executing a very runnable, supportive shoe that is going to cater for a few more runners, I personally believe, in comparison to what the version 5 did. Not discrediting this shoe, it was serviceable. It certainly catered for a great demographic of runners out there. However, the net has been thrown even wider with the Vongo version 6, which I'm really excited about. So like all my shoe reviews, and in today's review, nothing's going to be any different. We're going to go through the three main engineering features: the outsole, the midsole, and the upper. Talk to the subtle differences between all three categories, give you the information that you require at home to, who knows, maybe make this your next shoe purchase. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So to categorize the foot type first, I want to talk to this point because it's a really a key topic of discussion. The version 5 was targeting a mild overpronator. If you happen to be a neutral runner, you could probably use the shoe, but you're not really going to enjoy what that midsole was all about. Version 6. Now, if you're a neutral foot type and you don't really require any arch support, but you want something with a little bit more structure and integrity through the forefoot, you're going to enjoy Vongo version 6. However, if you do mildly overpronate, you will find that this plated construction through the midsole is going to give you all the support you require, but also making it a seamless release through to your forefoot. So the amount of people that this shoe could cater is wider than what we found last year with the Vongo version 5. Okay team, let's start with the upper first. So what we have is we've got an engineered knitted construction up top. Now, call out a couple of significant feature changes or alterations, I should probably say. As a whole, the shoes like this, you can see that the laces in the Vongo version 6 go further down towards the forefoot than what we found with the version 5. So what that means is with the version 5, we had a little bit more volume and a wee bit more wriggle room through the front half. So the static feel in this shoe when you slip your foot into it is nice and voluminous through the front half. So a lot of people we know that enjoyed this shoe for the freedom that the forefoot offered. However, with the version 6, there's some significant change within this midsole that required a little bit more effort and more overlays through the forefoot, so you get a slightly better lockdown through your toe box. There is wriggle room there, but it's not quite as free and voluminous as the version 5. The saddle, which is the gusseted construction of this tongue, fits and feels fantastic. Really thin, breathable tongue, a little bit thinner than last season's version 5. I shouldn't use the term really thin because it's not an insanely thin thin tongue, pardon me, but it's certainly thinner than what we found with the version 5. But that gusseted construction gives your arch the saddle support and fit and feel you require to keep you on top of that platform to get all the performance benefits out of the midsole. Coming back to the heel counter, not too dissimilar with the height of the internal heel counter. You can see last year we had the Achilles flare. We don't really have an Achilles flare on the version 6, but we do have a little bit more memory foam on this internal heel collar. So it does provide more comfort on that first initial step in, and also will restrict the amount of friction that you can receive on longer runs with that vertical movement with your foot or heel in the back half of a shoe. So having a bit more volume or a bit more padding will just restrict that amount of vertical movement or vertical slippage if you obviously utilize the appropriate amount of structure with your lacing construction. Okay, jumping to the bottom of this shoe and looking at all things outsole first. Now you can see that on the version 5 on my left over here, there is more outsole coverage. So what New Balance had achieved or tried to achieve with the coverage of the outsole was to provide a little bit more protection on that midsole, and also providing more rubber through the forefoot would allow there to be almost an engineered element of rocker through the front half, because if you didn't have this amount, if you had, this amount of outsole on this shoe, for example, it would be really flexible and you would probably put a bit too much load and stress through your metatarsal heads or your toes. So therefore, there is more coverage on the version 5. Coming to the version 6 though, I really like what New Balance have done with their strategic placement on the flex screws. So you can see that you've got a little bit more exposed fresh foam cushioning system, but it is set back a little bit. The outsole does or is the closest part of the shoe to the ground. So you've got good coverage through the back half. A little bit light on, in my opinion, with regards to the lateral component through here, but with my personal pair, which I'll show you at the end of this review, they've worn beautifully through the whole entire midsole. We're only 100 Ks into the life of those shoes, so I've got no issues with regard to the outsole coverage, but I thought initially it might be a little bit light on that lateral side through the heel strike zone. Coming through to the forefoot, you can see there is that element of vertical flexibility in comparison to that horizontal flexibility which is on offer through here in version 5. Now, the reason that is or has been strategically placed is because of the midsole execution or midsole engineering. So we're trying to provide a really smooth transition from entry, mid-stance and release in this Vongo version 6, and they have executed it with the midsole and the outsole strategic placement. Okay, talking about the midsole, because this is where most of the change is in this shoe, and it's where we're going to spend most of our time discussing regards to the outcome of performance and overall fit and feel and function. First things first, we have got a change in heel to toe offset. 6mm drop in the Vongo version 6. We've got 30 in the heel and 24 in the forefoot. Last year we had an 8mm offset. We're 1mm higher, so we're 31 in the heel and 23 in that forefoot. So we've lowered that heel to toe pitch a little bit closer to the ground, which is probably a good thing because we've got that dual layered fresh foam X cushioning system. A softer foam underneath the foot, but that full length plastic plate is going to provide the rigidity and support to help that midsole hold its shape and structure and longevity of its performance over time. Where the version 5 was certainly a very durable shoe. I liked what this shoe did in regards to the underfoot experience. Took a little bit of time to wear in, I must say. Like, my initial thoughts when I ran in this shoe, we're talking nearly 14 months ago when I got my prototype, was it was cushioned. I didn't mind it, but it took a few runs to really break in to get that soft fit and feel on my foot. Vongo version 6. First step in, first run, it is soft. It feels like it's done 50 kilometers worth of running straight away. So there is going to be a very limited amount of wear in for that midsole. However, there might be a subtle adjustment if you're coming from version 5 to version 6 with the change in density of the foam, the lower heel to toe pitch, and also getting used to that plated construction. So while we're talking all the things midsole, let's talk about how the support structure works within this shoe. So you can see what we had with version 5, there was that blended construction. So what New Balance did with the execution of this midsole is they used two different molds and they actually almost welded them together through heat construction, or almost like without using glue. They welded them together using specific heat methods of making that blended support system work. So you still get that fresh foam cushioning feel, but that dynamic support system kicked in when you required it. It was semi-noticeable on the instep, so you did notice it was a supportive shoe, but it wasn't overly intrusive. You just knew there was a slight rise in instep. Looking at version 6, now, as I said a couple of times, two different layers of fresh foam cushioning. So the top layer is significantly softer. So the top layer comes in at 40 durometer points and the bottom layer is 45. So a firmer fit underneath the plastic plate. And on the medial side, that plate comes up a little bit more cambered towards the arch. On the lateral side, it comes down closer to the ground. It's probably a couple of millimeters off through midfoot and right through to the forefoot. So what that will do is it will provide a softer entry point, because remember, when we run, be it heel, midfoot or forefoot, our first entry point is on that lateral side. So you're going to get exactly what you want out of a mileage shoe. That soft entry point, really compressed feel. So therefore you can relax into the shoe through mid-stance, but that plated construction kicks in through toe off to give you that really snappy feel on release. While it's not a shoe that's going to be designed for someone to go out and smash some threshold runs, it's certainly a mileage shoe. However, if you happen to feel pretty good when you get out the door, you can pick up the pace in this shoe pretty comfortably and still get the support and that sort of responsive release through that forefoot with the midsole performance of that plate. Okay guys, in summarising, I thought it'd be a great time to bring up my Vongo version 6s, and as I've touched on, are 100 kilometres old in their lifespan. So to go over the significant changes, obviously the midsole is where most of the change has occurred. So 6mm offset, 30 in the heel, 24 in that forefoot, 2 layers of fresh foam cushioning, soft top layer on top of that plastic plate, firmer bottom layer, which allows for a very durable, consistent ride throughout the entire gait cycle, but also allows that plastic plate to offer support on that medial side when required. So for a neutral runner out there, you can still enjoy this Vongo version 6. There is no issues with you running in this. However, if you happen to have a tendency to mildly overpronate, that support will kick in when required. So for a lot of runners out there, they do start off neutral and they do actually overpronate when they fatigue. So it'll be a great shoe to actually hold up its shape and support for those people who require that support in the later stages of their longer runs. So a great execution with the midsole. Love what New Balance have done. The outsole just complements the midsole, so we get a little bit less rubber underneath to try and keep the weight down, which is a significant change. If they had a lot of rubber coverage, it would make the shoe too heavy and too stiff. So they had to reduce a little bit of weight, and that comes from the outsole strategic placement and obviously the flex screws through the forefoot. The other great thing about this shoe is the upper. So I love it when brands are trying to reduce their impact or carbon imprint on the environment, or repurposing recycled materials. That is exactly what New Balance have done. They've partnered with a company called Reprieve. It's a technology that repurposes plastics. They clean it, they melt the resin down, they shape it, they structure it, and then make the material that you see right in front of us here. So it is a knitted construction up top. So by using recycled materials, they haven't sacrificed anything in regards to overall fit, feel, and performance. If anything, they've probably made it slightly better. However, I love it that New Balance are putting in a lot of effort into repurposing plastics and making them available to execute in their top-end premium shoes. And that's exactly what they've done with Vongo version 6. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's review. I have really enjoyed running in this shoe, to be honest, collecting a lot of notes, thinking about what it does for me, getting some feedback from my other Sportitude running team members who have also ran in this shoe as well. And we've workshopped exactly what this shoe is all about and who it's going to be for. So as I've sort of touched on, well, I might not touch on this review, maybe a previous review, but similar shoes, ASICS Gel Kayano 30, the Brooks Glycerin GTS franchise. Now, they have that kind of dynamic support, not really intrusive art structure support to them, very much like the Vongo version 6. However, the Vongo is softer than the Kayano 30, and it's certainly softer than the Glycerin GTS, and it's on a 6mm heel to toe drop, with the other two on a 10mm offset. So lower, closer to the ground, but a softer, really smooth ride as well underneath the body. So well done to New Balance. I love what they've done and how they've executed Vongo version 6. Going to be a very exciting shoe. Looking forward to fitting more and more of these downstairs over the next 12 months plus. Now, if you've got any questions about this shoe, any queries or theories about where you've come from version 5 to version 6, let us know in the comments section below. If you haven't subscribed, please do hit that red button, stay notified. And to all of you subscribers out there, thank you so much for being a part of our community. We really enjoy bringing these shoe reviews to you. We love hearing from you all over the world with all of your running shoe selection and your running shoe progress. So until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another, happy running, and we shall see you out on the road. Take care.